I have never ever come across Nicola Sturgeon not holding her own.
What were her great speeches? What were her great policy outcomes?
Well, see, you're kinda, well...
The SNP have presided over the worst A&E waiting times on record. Diagnoses of early-stage cancer in Scotland have fallen to the lowest level in a decade. There are now fewer university students from the poorest backgrounds. Scotland has recorded its lowest PISA scores on record for maths and science. Drug deaths have tripled under the SNP's watch. The pupil-teacher ratio is still higher than when the SNP came to power. Library numbers have been cut by a third since 2015. The SNP's tax rises mean that Scots pay more income tax than any other part of the United Kingdom. The SNP failed to prevent a number of avoidable deaths at Scotland's largest hospital. The SNP failed to protect elderly residents in care homes during the pandemic. The SNP have consistently missed targets for life-saving cancer treatment. The number of police officers in Scotland has hit its lowest level since the formation of Police Scotland. Sturgeon broke her promise to close the attainment gap. Two-thirds of schools have not been inspected for 5 years. The SNP wasted £97,850 of taxpayers' money defending a bill in court they deliberately drafted to be flawed. SNP ministers spent over £1.3 million on chauffeur-driven car trips despite declaring a climate emergency. The SNP missed their own legal emissions targets for the last 3 years in a row. The SNP have broken their promise to end council tax. The SNP wasted £52 million propping up BIFAB. The SNP are wasting over £8 million on overseas offices. There are over 1,519 fewer teachers in Scotland than when the SNP came to power. The SNP broke their promise to achieve 30,000 modern apprenticeship starts per year by 2019. Hundreds of rail services a day are being cut. The SNP missed their target to build more affordable homes. Superfast broadband rollout is 5 years behind schedule. Early learning and childcare teacher numbers halved since the SNP came to power. The SNP were forced to abandon their failed named person scheme following a Supreme Court ruling that the scheme would breach human rights laws. There are nearly 650 fewer local police officers since the SNP's police merger. The SNP's Football Act criminalised football fans and threatened free speech. The SNP appointed Lord Advocate admitted the Crown Office maliciously prosecuted individuals involved in the Rangers takeover, costing taxpayers at least £40 million. 73% of GPs are worried they cannot provide care for patients due to the workload. 6 in 10 nurses are thinking about quitting. The percentage of school leavers going on to positive destinations is falling. The SNP abandoned the Scottish oil and gas industry, putting 100,000 jobs at risk and making the country more reliant on foreign imports. SNP broke their promise to create a national energy company. Less than half of Scottish waste is recycled. Scotland's lochs and rivers are in the worst state on record. The SNP have failed to make a commitment to upgrade our vital rural roads, such as the A9 and A96. The SNP failed to sell Prestwick Airport. More than £30 million in public funding was written off after 2 failed investments in wave energy companies. The SNP attempted to cover up their loss of a £10 billion Chinese investment. The SNP ignored an 11-year-old warning from the head of CalMac about the perilous state of Scotland's lifeline ferries.